Hello, and welcome to this week's live timeline session. Sorry if that was loud. I was just adjusting everything and making sure everything's looking good enough. um, Today, I'm very excited. We're on session 13 out of the Mastery timeline. If you don't know what this is about, I'm going through the timeline from the Next Generation Clarinet method. The Next Generation Clarinet method is my method program at this point. There's an actual PDF of a book that has lots of exercises and sort of organizes the things that I feel like you need to know about clarinet to be successful. The timelines guide you through for whatever level you're at. So if you're a beginner, there's a beginner one, this is the intermediate one, and there's an advanced one to sort of guide you through what I think is most relevant for those different skill levels. And today I'm very excited because we're on to our second daily warm-up. This daily warm-up has some of my favorite warm-up exercises, especially the long tone exercise, so I think that's going to be a great time. And we're continuing to explore articulation. I think this one's going to be a very interesting session for me to like really dive into the articulation on this one. Okay, now I'm back. Sorry for that interruption. So let's dive into our warm-ups, starting with the Christmas tree warm-ups, which are some of my favorite. I think you'll hear how the pattern works, but just like any long tones, quality is what it's all about, matching the sound throughout. Let me check one other thing real quick. Okay. Well, that's really loud. Sorry about that. 3 minutes was just barely enough time, actually. I'm going to do the last couple just one more time, just to make sure that the sound's really good, the fingers coordinate, and the connections are great. Yeah, I'm sort of exploring what that little squeaking is about and what is causing it. Sometimes when you're having issues like that, if you can figure out how to make it happen, then you know what not to do to make it not happen. So that's the long tones. Next up, we have our technique. This is the ascending scales from the book, and in a different key each time is what I recommend. So it's sort of up to you to know how to play it in different keys, or you can look at the all keys companion that I have as well. Let's see, technique, there we are. So I'm going to do today in C major and A minor, and sort of work my way around the circle of fifths probably in the next weeks. And I am going to do this with a metronome, because that's always a good idea. I'm going to turn it up so I can actually hear the metronome. And now the A harmonic minor. And I should mention as I'm doing these, make sure that you aren't just going through the motions on these and playing it. The more you can try to get out of even the simple exercises, the more you'll improve in general overall. Some things that I'm thinking about as I'm doing this one is really good fingers, just super relaxed. If there's any coordination issues or anything that doesn't sound good there, like on this A harmonic minor I had a little where the F to G sharp wasn't super clean, so that's something that I would be listening for and trying to smooth out and making sure that my fingers are really precise and snappy on every single note transition. Another thing that I was doing, because the fingers were going pretty well on C major, I'm pretty comfortable with a C major scale at this point, but I was thinking about changing the groupings and how I was thinking about counting it, going between 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and mixing that up. So there's all kinds of ways that you can go deeper and get more out of these. I'm going to move on to the melodic minor. That felt pretty good. I might come back. time I have left. 50 seconds. I'll do the harmonic minor one more time with just a little bit of time that I have left. And that is the time for that. And we'll be on to articulation next. So for the articulation is the scale articulation, which I believe is actually what we did last week for our sort of main thing. Now we're shifting that into a warm-up because a lot of this mastery timeline is all about mastering the fundamentals in these warm-up exercises. So we're going through those more warm-up-like things and getting the fundamentals, and then doing them in our actual warm-up too. I'll stick with the same speed. I might slow it down a little bit. Let's see. So at this tempo, it's definitely comfortable enough, but takes a little bit of work, and that's actually a good spot to be in, where you're working, but you're still really correct. So I'm going to do it a few more times and see if I can make it sound really good and continue to feel really, really right and sound good. See how much time I have. Let's try a little faster just to push it. definitely something weird happening at this tempo. So I'm going to try a few more times, especially on those high notes, and see if I can get my tongue sorted out. So that was the time for the articulation. I can definitely feel at this tempo, it's like in between sort of for what my tongue wants to do, between like very deliberately hitting the same spot of the reed every single time and starting to turn into what I do at a faster articulation. I'm not exactly sure the name of it, but it's like, it's not double tonguing, but I sort of like touch different parts of the reed. Because that goes faster for me. I don't know if that's a bad habit. That might be a bad habit that I should work on. And that's kind of what I was working on here, was trying to keep it the single tonguing, because I have less control over the steadiness of when I'm hitting in multiple spots. I can go pretty fast. But I'm a little bit inconsistent with like very being in control of it, and there may be like some compressed notes or some less compressed notes. So on this one I was trying to really just the true single tonguing to get it. But that was that for the articulation, which means now we are on to the actual timeline session, which for today is the 3-part articulation. So let me go ahead and read to you what this one is. So focus is page 28, 3-part articulation. The purpose: legato articulation helps to ensure that the air is continuous and the tongue motion is independent from the sound when articulating. That's exactly what we were just doing. Once that is mastered, you can begin shaping more intricate articulations. This exercise will help you to start exploring some different articulations. I highly recommend watching my YouTube video on this to make sure you're doing things properly in practice. And there's a link to the video, which I don't need to watch because I made the video. But let's go to page 28, I believe what it was. Yep, 3-part articulation. So basically what this exercise is just one note, long tone, normal legato articulation, long tone tenuto, long tone accents, long tone staccato, and there's repeats on each of them, so I'm probably going to do many measures of each one to try to get it exactly the shape that I want for these different articulations. And keeping the sound quality, of course. So that's still all legato. Now I'm going on to tenuto. And I'm really experimenting to sort of find what I like about tenuto and exactly the tenuto that I want, which is a little tricky. Tenuto is a pretty ambiguous articulation for what it actually means. I'm going to take a second to just sort of think about what that sounds. And for tenuto, I generally like to think about string instruments and how they would play tenuto. So I'm going to sort of imagine that for a second, get the target for what I want in my head before I try to create it on the instrument. yeah, that actually worked really well to sort of visualize what I wanted beforehand. I teach that a lot, and who knew it actually works, so that's great. Now going on to accents. And actually, since it worked so well, let me think about what I want from an accent too. I like that. There's a little bit of something that I'm hearing at the beginning that I'm gonna try to get rid of. It's a little like bump or it's not the accent. The accent I want, but it's something in the articulation where the sound isn't exactly how I want it right away. That was better. I think what I did was I was just lighter with my tongue, maybe a little bit less tongue, touching a little bit more of the tip of the reed, and that worked. You'll also notice that time I did one where I did it kind of in slow motion. I did maybe like a half note accent instead of just quarter notes as written. And that's a great way to slow things down so that you can comprehend the three parts of the articulation. Oh, I should actually do this as well as part of this. On the page, there's a lot more information than just the exercise. There's some text as well. So let me go ahead and read the text for the three-part articulation. There's also a graphic for this. If you have the book, then you can look at that on page 28. But let me read the text. Three-part articulation. On the previous page, we were aiming for a legato articulation where the notes are almost touching. But there are many options for different articulations. Whenever you look at an articulation or note shape, think of three different parts. Like a good story, there's the beginning, the middle, and the end. Almost all notes start with a clear beginning, then either grow, stay the same, or decay through the middle, then end quickly, leaving lots of space between notes, or at the last moment with only a tiny amount of space between notes. So that's sort of what I was talking about with going slow enough that you can hear all three parts. Here, for an accent, very strong beginning, the middle decays, and then the end just sort of tapers into nothing as you prepare for the next one. These are just normal accents. We could do an accent with a staccato or like the marcato marking where there's more space. You can hear that there's still a very strong start to the note and a very quick decay into silence so that you can have that space. Similar to the staccato, which is the one that's actually written that I'll do next. So this is just normal staccato, separated notes. And I find staccato to be the most challenging articulation because it actually requires a difference in what the tongue is doing. For pretty much legato, tenuto, and accented notes, all of those, the tongue motion's the same. It's on the reed, it's off the reed, and it's just like legato where it's quickly on and off the reed. And it's really the air that does the work to create the tenutos and the accents. The staccato, the tongue has to actually put that space in while keeping the air going, and then you're almost starting anew, very, very clear notes, and it's very easy to make either the beginnings of the notes or the ends of the notes not as clear as it could be. So that's why I did many more repetitions on that. I feel pretty good about this though. Now, of course, I'm in the sort of the easy register of the clarinet. So now I'm going to put on the register key and do a G at the top of the staff rather than C, and see if I can make that register articulate well as well. So now I'm moving on to tenuto. Again, I'm going to visualize this tenuto on the higher note. I'm trying the slowed down version. Okay, I think I found something that I liked pretty well there and got pretty consistent with as I went on. That's another important part of these is it's not good enough to just get one note to go exactly the way you want. You need to get lots of them to go the way that you want so that theoretically in music you can get exactly the articulation you want exactly when you want it. But for now, let's go on to accents. And you can hear I'm getting quite a lot of variety. That's mostly intentional. I was experimenting with some tongue stuff. I really realized that accents are really all about the air and really nothing to do with the tongue. Some of them I didn't even touch my tongue to the reed. Then I experimented with putting more tongue on the reed or leaving my tongue on the reed longer. It's actually an important distinction. I wasn't actually putting more physical tongue on the reed. I was just leaving it on there longer for some more space. But really it's all about the air. And you can see how I was doing all of those as accents, but there was a good variety in there. And that's true for articulation in general, that you can really get a lot of variety to your articulations. And that's what makes articulation, especially on wind instruments, so nice, is that you can have such variety, but do make sure that the sound quality is always good and that there's not any extra articulation junk getting into the sound. And last but not least, let's do staccatos up here. One exercise that I really like to do that helps with staccato a lot is intentionally leak from my embouchure so I can hear that the air is steady and truly work to make the tongue independent from the air. So let me demonstrate. So hopefully you can hear that the air is completely steady the whole time. If you back off the air and then you have to re-engage the air and it's going up and down, it's a lot of work, and it increases a lot of variables or adds a lot of variables to how that note's going to start, because you don't know where the air pressure is when you take your tongue off the reed, whereas if you just keep it, then you always know where that air pressure is. And you can always add in some actual real-world musical context. I did the third movement of the Mozart concerto there to practice those staccatos. It was going pretty well in the exercise, so I wanted to see if I could get the music to go exactly how I wanted as well. And that is the time for this. There we go. So you can see how 15 minutes was kind of a lot of time to spend on just that one exercise. However, I really was able to go deep into it, try it on some different notes, apply it to music just a little bit. So get creative with how you sort of apply this stuff, but also make sure that you're always getting the quality. That's what really counts. You could spend 15 minutes going and you're not going to get any better, even though you did the exercise. It's all about the quality that you do these things with. My big philosophy as of late, and I think it really shows in this book, is that if you can do the simple stuff better, or whatever quality you can do the simple stuff at, is the quality that you're going to be bringing to the more complicated stuff. So really get the quality on the easy stuff, because if you can't do it well on the easy stuff, then how can you ever expect to do well on the hard stuff? So good luck with this session. If you don't have the Next Generation Clarinet method, check the link in the description, or go to quickstartclarinet.com/nextgenbook to learn more about it. It's a fantastic program. I can actually tell I'm getting a lot out of it as well, even though I'm going through this like more intermediate timeline, and these are very simple exercises. Getting more out of it is very, very helpful for me as well. So thank you so much for watching. Definitely leave a like if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next week as we go through the next timeline session.